Okay, so this is just a quick video. I heard that some of you weren't able to get your books, so this is just going to be a review so that you can answer some of the discussion questions. So these are going to be really short, and hopefully it'll help until you can get your book. And the source of this is your book, so again, hopefully it helps. So with the sensation and perception chapter, I'm just going to go through this very quickly. So it's sensation and perception, right? So the definition for sensation, right, is the process by which we receive information. And again, this is how I would usually teach in person, but since we're online, due to all the things that are happening, I'm just going to write it down so that you could pause the video if you need to, and repeat. But this is usually how I teach, so usually I just write something on the board. So the definition for sensation is the process by which we receive information. Okay, so it's the process by which we receive information. That's sensation. And as you know, you have 5 senses, right? First is visual, so you can have visual sensations. These are sensations that you see. You can have aural sensations. That's A-U-R-A-L. That's not a it's not a mistake. So an aural, A-U-R-A-L, right? So those are sensations, hearing sensations, right? So hearing sensations. You can have gustatory sensations. Okay, that's taste. Okay, so gustatory. So obviously your eyes, your ears, your tongue, these are all going to help with your senses. They're responsible for your senses. Olfactory is your nose. Okay, so olfactory, so your sense of smell. Okay, and then you also have tactile, so your skin. Also is a source of sensations, right? Or receives the sensations. Okay. So sensation is the process by which we receive information, right? And perception, right? Perception is the process by which we derive meaning from those sensations. So perception is the process by which we derive meaning from those sensations. Okay, so I just want to let you know that sensation can happen without perception. Okay, so sensation can happen without perception. I mean, the topic of the chapter is sensation and perception, but sensation can happen without perception. So an example of that is if you see something but you don't know what it is. Right? You can't derive meaning from it. You're seeing something, you're like, what is that? An example of this is like if someone is blind and they have surgery to restore their sight. Sometimes at first they're not very happy with it because they're not sure what it is that they're looking at. It's a completely new experience until they adapt. Another example is greyhounds. So greyhounds that have been racing their whole lives and then they get adopted. Some people have found that greyhounds, they don't know what to do with stairs. And some dogs in general also don't know what to do with stairs if they've never been in a home with stairs. So they're seeing the stairs, the sensation is there, but they don't know what the stairs are, so they don't know what to do. They don't know how to go down those stairs, right? Also, a problem that some animals have is with like sliding glass doors. And some humans too, right? So you see the frame, and if you see the frame and you see a little bit of a shine, you know not to run through it. They see the frame, they might see the shine, and they'll run through it, right? So they have the sensation, but they don't know what it means. They don't know that it means don't go through it, it's solid, right? Perception can also happen without awareness, right? So perception can also happen without awareness. So this is the phenomenon of subliminal messaging, where you're flashing things just under awareness, But if something is being flashed, you realize like it influences what you pick out later on, right? Words that you pick out later on. So perception can happen without awareness. Okay, so there are different processes going on. One of the choices is to pick out an absolute threshold. I've got my little doggie coming through the door. Yes, here she is. Sorry. Speaking of. So your textbook talks about an absolute threshold. And I can just, let me see. Okay. She comes, she likes to make little appearances on videos sometimes. So you have the concept of the absolute threshold in your book, right? So absolute threshold. Whoops, sorry. Okay, so here we go. Lost the thing. Okay, so absolute threshold is the smallest amount of stimulation a person can sense. Okay, so it's the smallest amount of a stimulus or anything. It's the smallest amount of anything that a person can detect or can sense. Sometimes it's been defined as the smallest amount of a stimulus that can be detected about 50% of the time by the person. So, one of the discussion posts asks you to figure out what's the smallest amount of a stimulus that you can detect for all your 5 senses. So I'll just give you some examples and then you can think of your own and then maybe you can do that particular choice. So visual, right? So what's the smallest thing that you can see? Right? Is it an ant? Is it a red ant? Is it a grain of sugar? So we also take a look at that, or physicians and nurses, they take a look at it when you're being tested for your vision, right? They're trying to get the smallest thing that you can see. So everyone starts out with the big E on the eye chart, and then you squint and you squint and squint till maybe you can see all the way at the bottom, and that would be great. But usually a lot of times people don't. My daughter's watching TV, so you can hear a little bit of it. She's watching like Hi-Ho Kids, and they're testing out food. So the smallest thing that you can see. Oral. Yeah.
There's an earwig in our bathroom.
There's an earwig in the bathroom. Okay, and then oral. Let me just finish this, and then oral, right, is what you can hear, right? So the smallest thing you can hear now. Sometimes you were in school. They tested your hearing by putting on headphones, and then you raised your hand, your left or your right, to signal which ear you heard that in. So they're looking also for your absolute threshold. What's the smallest thing you can hear? And then you can tell me what's the smallest thing you can hear, right? Is it a whisper? Is it the lowest setting on one of your iPods or iPads? Okay, gustatory, the smallest thing you could taste. Some people are very sensitive to sugar, very sensitive to spices. So they know exactly what you made. If you cooked or made something, or if you put sugar in something, they could tell like one